BVI Public warned against counterfeit COVID-19 treatments.
And an unemployed couple in Trinidad has adopted a family struggling in light of the coronavirus. These and so much more when we return with more 284 News.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media at cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works. Welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, April 21st, 2020. A terrific Tuesday to one and all. I'm Ron Grant.
And I am Javon Wilson. So happy to be joining you for another edition of 284 News. Now, Ron, today we are celebrating the Queen's birthday, Queen Elizabeth II, that is. She's celebrating her 94th birthday today, viewers. So for the very first time, there will be no birthday gun salutes or birthday revelry, of course, in light of this coronavirus pandemic. But we were told that she will be marking this milestone in the company of her husband. So what better way to enjoy your birthday in light of coronavirus? So, of course, a very happy birthday to Queen Elizabeth as she celebrates her 94th birthday.
Jovan, I think she's spending it the way she should.
Yes.
That's all we should be happy for, to be in the company of family and friends.
Certainly.
Indeed. On to a very important story. Beginning our newscast today, the Ministry of Health and Social Development is alerting the public to be aware of falsified, counterfeit, substandard products that are being sold on the internet to prevent, diagnose, and treat COVID-19. Chief of Drugs and Pharmaceuticals in the Ministry of Health and Social Development, Mrs. Gracia Wheatley-Smith, warned that to date, no in-home tests have been manufactured and counterfeit chloroquine tablets are now being sold. Mrs. Wheatley-Smith said, and I quote, "Counterfeit tests may not have in any testing ingredient, may have a wrong testing ingredient and will therefore give a wrong result, which may lead to unnecessary stress, undue panic, or false sense of security. Counterfeit medicines may not contain any active pharmaceutical ingredient or may contain some other substances that are harmful and if taken may lead to death. The ministry therefore advises individuals who have other concerns about COVID-19 to call the Public Health Unit at 468-2274. Persons who are feeling unwell with symptoms such as shortness of breath, cough, fever, or fatigue are urged to call the medical hotline at 852-7650. Persons are further reminded to refrain from visiting the doctor if they are feeling ill and contact the medical hotline for medical assessment and guidance. There is no known vaccine and no specific antiviral treatment against the coronavirus. Therefore, prevention is critical to avoid being exposed to COVID-19. Persons should practice everyday preventative actions to help reduce the risk of respiratory viruses by frequent hand washing, cough and sneeze etiquette, avoiding contact with visibly sick people, staying home when feeling ill, and practicing social distancing. Jovan, this is a very important story that we're beginning here with, because obviously with such anxiety, persons may be led to buy stuff online, but we're warning our BVI residents about buying counterfeit medication online as it could be very detrimental to them.
Certainly, not just here in the British Virgin Islands, Ron, but across the world, we've seen a surge in fake medicines. This is all across the world. So again, it's very important. And I know, especially us here in the Caribbean, we're people that believe in our little natural remedies.
That's true.
And this has worked. We've seen persons attesting to the fact that this has worked for some persons in their recovery process. Some persons require little to no treatment at all.
Yes.
But to date, we have no vaccine that has been proven to treat the novel coronavirus. So again, viewers, you're warned against that, not just here in the BVI, but across the world as we continue to battle COVID-19. Now, more on in the news, the government of the Virgin Islands has begun delivering home care packages as promised. The $2 million project is set to facilitate the elderly and persons in need with food supplies and medication for the next week. Now, once the World Health Organization declared the novel coronavirus a pandemic, many companies across the BVI began to resize, resulting in thousands of persons losing their jobs. Now, in an effort to identify the scope of the unemployment locally as a result of this crisis, we here at 284 Media posted a poll just about a few days ago, and Ron, alarmingly, just based on those preliminary numbers, and based specifically on that poll, we see just about 80% of persons who are now estimated to be unemployed. Again, this is based on the statistics coming out of that poll. Now, official statistics are yet to be made public by the Department of Labor. However, nevertheless, a very big crisis as we examine what's going on here locally. And not only does this speak to the economic ramifications that are yet to come, but more importantly, Ron, the dire need for food. Well, viewers, as crazy as this situation is, the government is currently at work. Hundreds of government workers were deployed as of yesterday to ensure that the home care packages were ready and out for delivery. We caught up with Mr. David Archer, who is our deputy governor, who was very happy to expound on the effort. Let's listen in.
As deputy governor, it's with a sense of appreciation and joy to see well over 150 public officers deployed to make sure persons are fed, whether it's 84 within the distribution center, 19 for the call center, 27 dealing with the sister islands, and another 20 administrators just behind the scene making sure the logistics work. This is what public service is all about. Going beyond the call of duty, stepping in when necessary, but doing something that's bigger than you, having the purpose. And I'm extremely elated at this time, as the head of the public service, to commend public officers for the work that they're doing as they join hands with the private sector, NGO, and other persons interested in ensuring that we're safe, but for this particular project, ensuring that people within the BVI are fed. I'm grateful.
Now, viewers, like you've heard, many public officers are now out assisting even into the evening. And while this may not be as speedily as we'd like to, I know a lot of persons are still out trying as we speak. Now, while this effort was applauded by most residents, it seems like a few were not satisfied with the offerings. One resident took to social media, as you can see in his video, to rant. And according to him, it is insufficient and the government needs to do better. That was strongly refuted, viewers, by government officials who then showcased a variety of items included in each package. As you can see in the video above, the package includes water, canned goods, juices, toilet paper, milk, detergent, bread, fresh produce, rice, flour, meat, and pasta, among many other things. These were further personalized, of course, for persons with babies and young children. So altogether, we see a pretty incredible effort from the government of the Virgin Islands to ensure, like the Premier said, no one goes hungry in this time of uncertainty. Now, viewers, outside of these great efforts, we have received reports of persons attempting to scam the community in Virgin Gorda on behalf of the District Representative, Honorable Vincent Whitley. This was brought to our attention by Honorable Vincent Whitley via a social media post that said, quote, "It has been brought to my attention that persons are showing up with goods on my behalf and demanding money. Please do not pay a penny. This is a scam," end of quote. As a result, residents, you are now urged to be on your guard, and Honorable Whitley is now asking persons to take a photograph of any suspect and report the matter to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force immediately. Now, Ron, desperate times calls for desperate measures, but never would we have imagined that people would resort to this new level of low. We know people are in desperate need, and we are now seeing others seemingly trying to take advantage of that. And, you know, who knows? One of the things we have to consider here is, you know, we do not know how many persons actually paid for their produce before this was actually reported. And it's a really sad reality. And again, we know now that hundreds of government workers have been deployed. We have a call center that is now in place to monitor the incoming calls and deal with some of that traffic, but still somewhat as we speak, persons are still not being able to get the help that they need, at least in a timely format. One of the concerns we see is, essential workers not being able to have access to shopping. And now, many of our essential workers are out working at the forefront, but still have families to cater to. Many of them are now asking that they be given a time period to shop, maybe from 8 p.m. to midnight, one person suggested. Another person said that supermarkets can possibly provide a standard package at a set price for persons to drive up and maybe uplift to avoid crowding or, in-store shopping and of course to complement social distancing. So we've run and we've even heard reports just yesterday of workers from the Port Authority and customs workers as well. They were given permission to go and shop yesterday. So my thing is this: if this priority is being given to one set, it definitely should be applied across the board. And the good thing about this is that not only will it ease the burden on, the processing of online orders, where we've seen a complete backup and persons not being able to get to what they need in a timely format. But it can also prevent persons who are working, essential workers like you and I, who can afford to shop. It will prevent them from reaching out to government and putting a strain on the home care packages resources.
Jovan, I think that's an absolutely reasonable concern. At the end of the day, I think one of the problems we've been facing throughout the territory as it pertains to certain measures, as you've stated, it seems though that it's not across the board. It works for some and it doesn't work for others. Some are allowed and some are not. So I think we have to come to a point where it's cohesive and organized. I agree, of course, that this is something new to our territory and many of our leaders may have not been a part of this. On the flip side, I am so happy and honored to see civil servants and fellow Virgin Islanders coming together and partnering, coming out of their homes to make sure that persons in the community are fed. It is a beautiful sight when you see the trucks coming out of the supermarkets loaded and heading to homes. I think we are to be absolutely grateful here in the Virgin Islands that we still have some level of care and consideration. It still takes a village to raise us.
It definitely still does, and so refreshing to see, especially our elders getting the necessary help that is needed. Viewers, is still ahead. Teachers are encouraging persons to persevere during the COVID-19 curfew, and a very great story of hope that sees a Trinidadian couple sharing all that they have with another family. I mean, we're speaking to the couple. You simply cannot afford to miss this. Stick with us.
Some claim that the age of a true gentleman is far behind us, but here at 284 Media, we disagree. He may appear in different guises today, but the values and ideals that make him a gent still stand. 284 Media proudly presents its newest talk show, The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, with yours truly, Ron Grant. A show poised to help guide modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen. Don't worry, it's not all about suits and bow ties, but raw, real-life lessons that translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, a 284 Media production.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News, and now a story of hope coming out of the Guardian News in Trinidad and Tobago. Every man for himself is one adage that Juanita Sugrim, 39, and Drusilla Jacob, 28, does not incorporate into their system of beliefs. The couple, though they themselves are currently employed, have engaged in a most selfless act, adopting a family of 7 whose lives have been completely upheaved by the COVID-19 pandemic in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, Ron, when I came across this headline, I just had to reach out to this couple, and as expected, Drusilla, she was so happy to share with us here at 284 Media. Let's listen.
Okay, so hi everyone, this is Drusilla. My partner Juanito is also present here with me. We just like to say thank you for all the positive feedback that we have been getting. We did not expect this at all, but I think this is an opportunity for everyone to see that as little as it is, everyone can pull together and make a difference. There are a lot of families that are in need. As we can eat on a daily basis, there are actually people who do not eat. There are actually people who drink water on a daily basis and go to bed, and people with kids. And as much as we keep looking at the artists and the government and the NGOs and everybody to help out, we as a people could really just come together and help. So what is organized together with Pillars of Excellence in Shoguanas. That's the school, a little private school, where I'm an admin and have been out of work for the past 2 months. But what we have done is organized where families who are in need, we get together and we adopt one, whoever can help, and we help. And we have been helping for the past couple of months. This is nothing new, but the COVID has brought about things that are much more difficult. What inspired us to do it is the fact that I grew up in sheer poverty myself, and I know what it is like to go hungry. My partner, who is diabetic and is a high risk for the COVID virus, he is at home. We are both unemployed at the moment, but as we decided what we eat, they will eat. If we eat, they will eat. As long as we eat, they will eat. And I think that's the mentality we all should adopt. And if we do adopt this mentality, we will be able to pull through and survive this entire situation.
Now that is Drusilla Jacob out of Trinidad and Tobago, who we were so excited to speak to. Is probably tuned in right now. We just want to say a quick hello to all of our brothers and sisters across the region who are equally affected by COVID-19. But the pair, as you've heard from the voice note, who supplies all basic needs for the family while still keeping themselves afloat without a salary, said that they are doing it all on their personal savings. They said, quote, "We don't have an income at this time, but we believe in blessing other people. We are doing this because it gives us a sense of contentment. It is really hard to see children going for days without something to eat. We believe in blessing others in whatever way we can," they explained. Now, due to the pandemic as well, the couple who has one child has also been forced to postpone their wedding, which was carded for next month, but they take no disappointment in even this, as they say it is an unusual time. So Grimm said helping this family was also particularly close to the heart of his soon-to-be wife, as she grew up under harsh poverty. Now, what a story to consume as we continue to fight this virus. I particularly want to bring light to the fact that while the government and NGOs and nonprofit organizations, they have a very crucial role to play in. While they have their roles, we too, as compassionate members of the community, can do what we can to help. There are so many persons in need at this point. You know, we have to make it our priority, I think, to reach out to our neighbors, reach out to our families. We know the people in our districts who are at a disadvantage at this time, and I think we should make it our priority, our responsibility to reach out. And I know a lot of us are restricted by not being able to move around. Of course, we are in the middle of a 24-hour lockdown, but there are things we can do. For example, the police have been assisting. You can call them to drop off your products if you want to share maybe with a neighbor or somebody else who may not be close to you. You can also encourage persons to reach out to bvihandsfree.com, which we were able to speak on a bit earlier in the week. We interviewed Miss Alexandra Durant. Herself and a couple of friends have mobilized to ensure that persons in the community gets the help that they need. As you can see on the website, there is a place for persons to sign up, whether you are a donor or someone in need, anonymously, of course. Please ensure that you reach out so that we can get the help to the persons who really need it.
Jovan, quite an amazing story coming out of Trinidad and Tobago. What it reminds me of, there's a song that the wonderful Stevie Wonder wrote a very long time ago called Love's in Need of Love Today. And I think that song is so fitting because that's what we see across our community and across our region, where love is in need of love today. And once we have that, we should be able to give freely. It's an amazing, amazing story. And we should practice that. I know some persons locally who perhaps live in a huge apartment complex, and if they cook a lot of food, they send some down and make sure that their neighbor isn't,
And we've seen it. We've seen a little bit of it across the BVI. I know in Virgin Garden there's a lot of efforts. Even here in Tortola, Brandywine Restaurant is offering soups to persons in need. And I mean across the board, even in East End, so many efforts. Most recently, I saw a post, I think, on the Real Community BVI board where somebody really needed Pampers for their baby, and another resident was able to reach out and say, listen, I have a pack to spare.
That's what
Somebody
it's about.
just pick it up and drop it off. And that's what this story speaks to. Community and care and compassion, and I'm just really proud of the efforts so far.
Indeed. Continuing on, Chief Education Officer Mrs. Connie George is encouraging teachers to push through perseverance during the 24-hour curfew. Mrs. George said, and I quote, "As this experience is new to most, I encourage you to continue with patience and practice what you have learned. Since the closure of schools in March, teachers have been receiving training on remote learning, and training will continue this week." Education CEO further said, and I quote, "Training continues for primary school teachers this week as we prepare to transition to remote learning. As Chief Education Officer, I am pleased with the enthusiasm shown, the positive attitude, and the excellent attendance of the primary school teachers to the Google training," Mrs. George said, adding, "On behalf of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth Affairs, Fishery, and Agriculture, I want to thank you for your dedication and commitment in making e-learning successful. Training for secondary school teachers will be taking place on April 23rd and 24th. If you have any questions for more information about the training, contact the ministry at 468-9491. That's 468-9491. Jovan, we've been using the term essential workers a lot recently, but when we do, let's not forget to thank our amazing teachers across the territory and wish them well as they continue to do their best as always.
Definitely, and I know this is not an easy period for anyone, so I'm really happy to see them really pushing through and persevering in this phase. I know especially when you couple not just their academic responsibility to other students in this time, but their responsibility to their children, you know, their responsibility to household chores and all the other things that we have to couple and accomplish on a daily basis. It could not be an easy task. So again, a special kudos to our teachers and all the other essential workers who are really holding us at the fort.
Up next, Zoom weddings. New Yorkers say I do virtually, and President Trump is about to halt immigration. All this and more coming up. You're watching 284 News.
How may I assist you? Yes. You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join a prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Viewers, welcome back. You're watching 284 News. Coronavirus is moving a lot of things online, and New York has just added weddings to that list. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo issued an executive order Saturday allowing New Yorkers to obtain a marriage license remotely and permitting clerks to perform ceremonies via video conference, a practice that is usually banned under existing laws. There is now no excuse when the question comes up for marriage. The governor joked during his press briefing, "You can do it by Zoom, yes or no." He said, and I quote, "The executive order will temporarily suspend a provision of law that requires in-person visits. Many marriage bureaus have temporarily closed as a result of the coronavirus outbreak. In New York, the epicenter of the U.S. outbreak, stay-at-home measures have been extended until at least May 15th, and it could be many months before social distancing measures are lifted to allow gatherings for events such as weddings. So-called Zoom weddings are already taking off around the world as friends and families dial in video conferencing tools to watch couples tie the knot. But typically, these ceremonies are not legally binding. Some couples either obtain marriage licenses beforehand or put the official ceremony on hold until after the pandemic. The executive order now allows couples in the Empire State to get hitched officially while keeping their social distance. Similar measures have been introduced elsewhere. In Colorado, couples are now allowed to apply online for marriage licenses. And in Ohio's county, couples with special circumstances, such as suffering from serious illness, health insurance issues, or if working in healthcare, can obtain their marriage license video call. Jovan, a very interesting story, and I think I know the answer to this, but I must ask, if you had to, under these circumstances, would you get married via Zoom?
It's an absolute no. No, you're not going to rob me of my opportunity to be extra and glamorous and all the extra
I
stuff.
figured the answer would be no.
No, we are living in different times, man. I mean, while I respect a person's right, to go ahead and do it, of course, at their own leverage. Personally, I just think there's so many other important things to focus on at this time. But people might see this differently.
Yeah, and you see, and clearly we see where it's important to them, so they're definitely making sure that they're still getting hitched.
Definitely,
online.
but not in this way, not Javon.
All right.
Certainly, definitely not. Viewers, we have to move right along. President Donald Trump said Monday that he will sign an executive order to, quote, temporarily suspend immigration into the United States because of the coronavirus. As you can see with the tweet on the screen, he said, quote, in light of the attack from the invisible enemy, as well as the need to protect the jobs of our great American citizens, I will be signing an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration into the United States. End of quote, Trump tweeted. He offered no details, viewers, as to what immigration programs might be affected by the order, but many officials have since questioned if he can do that. The answer appears to be yes. Any such sweeping action is bound to produce court challenges, but it's not clear that they will succeed. Ms. Andrea Flores of the American Civil Liberties Union, for one, condemned the plan, saying, quote, Trump seems more interested in fanning anti-immigrant flames than in saving lives. We cannot allow President Trump to exploit this pandemic to advance his racism and xenophobia, end of quote. But the president would normally cite the same legal authority that he used to justify his March 11th executive order restricting entry by travelers from countries coping with the pandemic. It's a provision of federal law, the Immigration and Nationality Act, that gives a president very broad power. He said, quote, whenever the president finds the entry of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation, and for such period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, the statute says. So, Ron, we see here provisions within the Immigration and Nationality Act, giving, of course, President Trump very broad power. I know he's forever been trying to reform the U.S. immigration policies, of course, to keep people out, and with this new order, may certainly be able to. The question is, for how long? Well,
Jovan, at this time, we're really getting to see what's important to lawmakers and where their priorities are at, and I think, as you rightfully said, this entire immigration issue has been one that the President of the United States has talked for a long time, even going as far as creating his well-talked about wall.
Yes.
So it definitely shows not only in the U.S., but it shows across the region, in the Caribbean as well. When we see leaders making such decisions, it shows exactly where their focus is at this particular time.
I believe that reality will show up here soon enough, too. I think we are at a juncture where we'll be forced to make critical decisions.
Indeed.
And I do believe immigration will play an integral role in how we move forward. I know, again, 75% of our population belongs to the expatriate community. Correct. And it will be really interesting to see the government's stance on all of this going forward. Viewers, that is it for today's News Roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com. You can also like us on Facebook at 284media, as well as 284BVI on Instagram, as well as Twitter. My name is Javon Wilson.
And I'm Ron Grant. We'll see you guys again tomorrow as we deliver your daily dose of local, regional, and international content. We're at 284 News, your source for honest and impartial news, right here on 284 Media. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Bye-bye.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Brilliant Hands and Minds Tutoring Services, one-on-one tutorials in math and English, intense homework assistance, academic enrichment, school projects, effective communication and public speaking development, sign language for adults and children on Saturdays only. Registered with the Virgin Islands High School Certificate Program, Brilliant Hands and Minds can help you too. Offering intense curriculum-based training to help you or your loved ones get their high school diploma. It's time to make your family's education a #1 priority. Hurry, space is limited. Brilliant Hands and Minds Learning Center. We are the trained education professionals. In the final analysis, we have 2 options. Stay inside and create memories that will last forever, or go outside and say goodbye to those memories. We're not stuck inside, we're safer inside. The time is now to unite, embrace, and love each other from a distance. Show the world and the people in it just how much they mean to you by keeping your distance. It may be